Hello, my name is livio yoshinaga and I am here today to show you how to perform the DSD concept utilizing the PowerPoint. PowerPoint, I'm using here a PowerPoint in Portuguese, but for sure you will see as we click through the commands, you'll be able to see which commands we are using, and you can find out on your PowerPoint what are the associated commands that reflects the same that I'm using. Right now, I just opened PowerPoint. PowerPoint comes with this white screen, 3x4. This is the format of the slide, and already puts in front of me the two boxes for the titles. What we're going to do is we're going to select the boxes on the line. If we select inside, PowerPoint actually thinks that we're going to enter text, so we're going to click on the line and we're going to delete those two boxes. We're going to delete those boxes here, so we have an empty white slide. We're going to change the color of the background, so right click on the mouse. Definitely for PowerPoint users, this is PowerPoint 2010, and I strongly recommend that you use a mouse, because together the mouse with some shortcuts on the keyboard, you'll be much more effective, and this is all we want with the DSD concept, is really to give you the shortest way to achieve your target. So right click on your mouse and then you have the background, how to format your background. This is going to be used a lot, and this dialog box is going to really control a lot of the entities, a lot of your designs, images, and everything you have on your slide. For the instance, we right clicked on the slide, so it is giving me this how the background is being filled. So it's a solid and the color is white. We're going to change this to black and we're going to close, just close, and now we have a black background slide. The next step is to have the slide on a 16:9 format, because this format, if we play this format, we're going to end up losing a lot of the area on our monitors. Usually we also recommend for you that you demonstrate your DSD on a television, which is at least 40-inch or 42-inch full HD television connected to your computer through an HDMI cable. And those widescreen TVs has a format, not 4:3, but it has a wider format, 16:9. So in order for us to change the format of the slide, we're going to go into design, and then on the first option, which is to set up your page, here is the 4:3. You're going to click on this icon here and select 16:9. So 16:9, and you hit OK. Now you can see that the slide is much wider, and this is going to fill the whole screen of your monitor. Again, we recommend that you demonstrate the DSD for your patients on a television. We're going to go back to the initial page, and now we have a black screen that we can start working on. Right now we're going to change, we go into this exhibition, and we're going to just click on rulers. The first option here, it's going to be ruler. So now I can see the ruler on both sides of my slide. And now we go back to the initial page. We have here the basic shapes that we're going to use. We can find them here, and if your PowerPoint doesn't have them here, you can go and insert forms, and here's the line. We're going to start by adding a line to our slide. Otherwise, you can just go on the initial page and click directly line here. So I can design a line. I click and I can hold, drag to find where my line is going to be, and then release. This is going to create one line. I'm going now to select this line and delete it. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. But now I click the first point. On my second point, all I want is to design the cross, which is made of a vertical line. So to get a perfect vertical line, I'm gonna really press shift while holding the mouse, and then I'm going to release. So now first click, then pressing shift on the second click is going to give me a straight vertical line. The same happens to the horizontal line, so we can have it here. When I press shift, it locks into this position and I can release those lines. Let's just go ahead and place them on the 0. You can look at the numbers on the ruler. There's a marker. Now it's on the 0 position, and on the horizontal line the same on the 0 position. So now we have our cross in the middle of the slide. This will help us to really guide the images and to center those images. So whenever we're going to produce or we're going to play the presentation, we have the cross in the middle of the screen, and the images will be in the middle of the screen, showing to the patients a much nicer presentation. So I hit ESC on my keyboard and I go back to my screen here. Another command that we use a lot on PowerPoint is the zoom. Here on the lower right corner you can zoom in or zoom out. Everything here around your slide, all of these are working areas. So if I take this line, this is part of my presentation. The only thing is this doesn't show on the slide. In order for me to see what is showing on my slide, I just look to this area here on the left and I can see exactly what is showing. But here we're going to go back to the line here, and this is the zoom of my vision of the slide. It doesn't change the length of this line, it doesn't change the size of the lines, but it changes the size of the whole slide. How do I see the proximity, like a zoom lens? Okay, so we're going to end up having the zoom like this, which is always, I like to see working area around the slides, so I don't have to be moving with the bars on my right or on the bottom. So always find a nice zoom depending on your monitor that will show you the slide and the limit, leaving some space on all sides of the slide. Okay, so now the next step is to add the image here. We're going to go insert and then image, and there are a lot of ways for you to insert images here. I'm going to go to my desktop and it's on the DSD images, the 3 images that I want to start. I'm going to start with the face image and insert. Immediately PowerPoint position this image on the largest side of the slide. I'm going to rotate this image by holding on the green ball and then on the shift on the keyboard, so I can have this rotation totally straight. I'm going to go ahead and make this smaller a little bit, this image, and fit this image on my slide. Okay, make it bigger a little bit, and that's it. So it's here on the slide. You can see that I'm using the zoom. It's easier for me to zoom in and zoom out when I cannot see the image. So really utilize the zoom command here to make your life simple when doing the DSD. Now this image is in front of those lines. It's the last image, the last object that I just placed on my slide is in front of the lines. So I'm going to go and put this on the back of the line. So I'm going to click on the image, right click, and then we can say send to the background. Okay, all the way down. So now it's behind the lines and the lines are in front of the image. Now with this image, my next step is to bring the horizontal line to the eyes, just close to the eyes, and now I'm going to zoom in to really see the alignment here. So we can see from this patient, and on this case, looking at the face, we can see that the alignment of the face can be controlled by the level of the pupils of his eyes. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to position the line on on the right eye of the patient, right in the middle of the puppet. My problem here is that when I move my mouse, it jumps from this point to this point. It doesn't give me a middle point. So in order to avoid this and really to release this locking position, I'm going to, as I do this on the keyboard, I'm going to press the Alt key, A-L-T, just on the side of your spacebar. By putting the line here, now I'm really crossing the middle of this eye here. Now the line goes here, and I can see that I would have to rotate this image by some degrees to better align the eyes of this patient. At this point, I need to rotate the image, but the normal rotation, which will be clicking on the image and rotating here, this is too abrupt, this is too strong. So what I will do, I'm going to rotate degree by degree, and the way I can do this is to click on the image, right click, and then go into size and position. Or you can go straight here on the rotation, and then the last one, more options to your rotation. This is going to open this dialog box, and then from here we can see the rotation is 270. We can start clicking here, and then we can find the best rotation which aligns the pupillary distance of this patient. So 271, we just rotated by 1 degree, and now I can look to my patient a little bit further away. Although the image is rotated, the alignment of the face is correct. Of course, in this case, I am assuming that his interpupillary line will be my reference for this case. Some cases I would have to go and check the ear. I could have to go and check the lips. I would have to go and check the bottom of the ears, the nose. So we can have all kinds of references from the face to really decide which one would be the best one. And on the DSD concept, the average of those alignments will be the right alignment of this patient in reference to the horizontal plane. So now what we just did is that we corrected the photo. That means that when I took this photo, the photograph is a little bit inclined. Looking at the camera, we did 1 degree mistake by taking this photo. So this is the right position of the patient. It is much easier to have the patient, to position the patient, the right rotation of the patient here, rather than doing this during the photo, when we're taking the photo, because the patient, if the patient starts to move, you ask, rotate to the right, rotate to the left, chin down, chin up. The position of the patient is not going to be so natural. So we would like to see a more natural position of the patient, and then from here we can incline, we can change the rotation of this picture and find the best alignment. In this case, again, we're utilizing the bipupillar alignment for this patient. So now my next step is to bring this line down to the mouth, okay, and we're going to duplicate the slide. I'm going to click on the slide, and Ctrl D is to duplicate. It's the same action as Ctrl C, then Ctrl V, but we can go ahead and do Ctrl D. D is from duplicate. So it's clicking on the slide, it duplicates the slide, and now I can do my changes. The reason we are duplicating the slide, and I strongly recommend you to duplicate as much as you want, this will ensure that you can go back to one step before if you do any mistakes, or you can see for didactic purposes the whole process of your DSD concept, all the steps. So now what we're going to do here, we're going to click this image, and then on the arrow keys from the keyboard, we're going to find the center of this image. Looking at the patient, we're going to, on our hierarchy, we're going to look first to the philtrum. This will really, I'm going to put the philtrum in the middle of the screen. Again, to avoid the jumping and locking position. When I'm using the arrows, and I'm using the arrows on the keyboard, I'm going to press Control at the same time. Holding Control, then I can go step by step and then find the philtrum. This is the middle of the philtrum of the lip, the upper lip. Again, in the average of the middle of the nose here, the chin, right? So this will be the middle of the face of this patient. So we can utilize all the references from the face, but the first one, the most important, will be here. If you see that this shows a nice balance on the face of this patient. In this case, the philtrum was my first reference rather than the other reference from the face. So now I have the patient lined, automatic balanced on the horizontal plane by the eyes, and then now my midline of the face is in the middle line of the average of those references, which gives me the right position of this photo, which we call now, we just finalized the digital face ball. Now the next step would be to duplicate the slides. Okay. One hint for you is that on the lower part of the slide, you can right here, you can write to annotate, or you can just write whatever you want. So this does not show in your presentation, but it gives you a nice observation pad to write whatever you want to each slide. Each one has its own annotation here. Don't forget, when you duplicate the slide, the annotation duplicates as well, but you can erase and rewrite here. So the first one, we did the position of the image and then rotation for the horizontal line. The second one was the one that we brought the line to the teeth, and then we corrected the vertical position of the photo. Now we're ready to cut this image, because right now we don't need the eyes anymore. I don't need the ears. I don't need the body. I just need the smile, the mouth. So what we're going to do with this image here, when I click the image, we're going to Image Tool, and then we're going to go into the cropping session of this. So the black part we can bring down and then focus this part to the mouth. All I want now is really to cut this image, to crop this image, so we can end up on the mouth. When I find this, I can click outside of the slide, and then it's cropped. The same thing I can do for the lines. I'm going to hold the Shift button so we can really make it smaller without having to change the angle. So to avoid doing this, if I hold the Shift, then I'm just going to one direction. So this is what we want. The cross, a much smaller line to this position. I'm going to duplicate the slide again to make sure that we remember this step. I'm going to now group all those entities, because if I move the image without grouping, the lines will stay. I'm going to do Ctrl Z to go back. So every time you do something, let's say I moved and I forgot to group. If I want to go back, I don't go back by eye. I don't try to reposition this again just by looking at it. The best way to do it is to hit Ctrl Z. This goes back to behind the lines. So I'm going to hold and select everything here. Go on top of the image, right click, and then group, and then we're going to group all those items here. Now when I click here, you can see that it has all the three entities: the photo, the vertical line, and the horizontal line. Now I can move this to this side of the slide, and now I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to really make it bigger. See the way it distorts the image? In order for me not to distort the image, what we're going to do is we're going to hold the shift button. If I hold the shift key, I can see that this does not distort, and this is what we want: a big image like this without any distortion of the image of my screen. So once I have this image big enough, I can see it here. If we play this presentation, if we do this, this is about the size of the image that we were talking to the patient, so this is okay. And you can see right now that the midline of the face was slightly to the left of the patient. So it doesn't really matter, because I have here a flexibility of about 4 millimeters. Anything within 4 millimeters of discrepancy will be considered, actually will be disconsidered, and although we can have the facial midline exactly where it is, but within 4 millimeters, this midline will be considered the same midline of the face, will be the midline of the mouth, of the smile, of the mouth. So now what I'm going to do is to click on this group here, and we're going to ungroup the whole thing. Now clicking outside, this is important. Why to have an outside image portion of the screen? Because I have to click outside here, and now I can click on this line, vertical line, and then I can move this vertical line holding the control to the midline of the mouth. In this case, again, specifically, we are adjusting this vertical line to the midline of the mouth, of the smile, of the teeth, because we could see that the discrepancy was within the 4 millimeters, and the little distance, the little position of the midline of the face a little bit to the left, we can disconsider this problem and then just adjust this to the midline of the teeth. So now we're ready to duplicate again the slide. Okay, duplicate the slide. And we're ready now to start to transfer this horizontal reference to the model. So we can go ahead for the last step of the DSD phase 1. The DSD phase 1 is known by getting the image, balancing the image on the screen, and then positioning the image on the horizontal, on the vertical, and then transferring this information to the model. In order for us to transfer this information to the model, we'll make sure that our technician will not have any problems on transferring the right inclination of the model. So this will ensure that his walks-up is going to be leveled on the most natural and according to the real occlusal plane of the patient, and is going to reduce a lot of the problems that is caused by a misalignment of the model, which can really cause mistakes and problems on the walks-up. So right now, in order for us to transfer this to the model, the next step will be we have to position this line in the middle of the teeth, because we will find now the distance of the line, from the line to the edge of each tooth. And if we find those distances, we can then transfer this distance to the real model and then design this line connecting those points on the model and have that line transferred to the model. So let's go ahead now and bring another image, which will be the ruler. And this is the ruler we're going to work. Let's start making it much smaller here. And the ruler, we have to calibrate the ruler. So in order for us to calibrate the ruler, I'm going to duplicate this vertical line twice. Position one on the distal of the centrals. And this information from here to here, the distance between the distals of those two centers is known by being 17 centimeters. So now we can shrink this ruler until we can reach 17. So 15, 15 and a half, 16, 16 and a half, 17. A little bit shorter, and that's a little bit longer. So you can do this until you reach 17. So 60, 15, 16, 17. If you want, you can zoom in to really perfectly match the 17 here. Okay, so 17, 15, 16, 17. If you zoom in a lot, it's going to make your life much easier. Now, what I'm doing this, again, why this is 17 millimeters, centimeters? Because we measured from this distal to this distal of the patient on the mouth or on the model, and we found this information. I just brought the image of the ruler, and now I adjusted this image. I shrink the image until I can reach the distance of this line to this to be 17. This is the step on how to calibrate the ruler. Now my ruler is calibrated because this now measures 17 centimeters, and this is how we're going to start measuring the distance of this line to the edge of the teeth, so then we can transfer this to the model. Let's go ahead and duplicate the slide and go into the next step, which will be getting this ruler, and then we're going to rotate by holding the shift button. So it's rotated. I cannot change the size of this ruler again. If by any mistake I do this, my ruler now is off my calibration. So I'm just going to go and do a Control Z, and I'm back to the position and size of the 17 centimeters, which was the distance of my calibration. Now I can go ahead and erase those vertical lines that I used just to calibrate, and I can start measuring the distance here from this point of this teeth to the line. How, if you look in a better zoom, it's showing me 1 centimeter, exactly the distance of the incisal of this of tooth number 23 to the line. If your line is a little bit up or a little bit down, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that this distance will be the distance that we're going to now go ahead on the model and do the transfer. So what I do with my calibrated ruler, again, I touch the line and I can see where on the teeth is 1 centimeter. Now I will take my model, measure with my caliper on the model on the same position 1 centimeter, and then draw a little dot on the 23. Now, just to leave that ruler there, I'm going to go click on the ruler and do a Control D to duplicate the ruler, and I'm going to go to the teeth number 22. So on the 22, in this position, it's 1.2. We can say 1.2 centimeters. I go on my model, I set my caliper to 1.2, I position one of the tip of the caliper here, and where is the 0, I'm going to do another little dot. I'm going to, with the pencil, to design a little dot on, or a little dash on tooth number 22 on the model. Now I'm going to do the same process, just duplicate and again position on the central. And then I can see on the central 1, 2, 2.5, I would say 2.6. I go on my caliper and transfer 2.6 and then design on the model on tooth number 21 on a distance of 2.6, a little dot here. And we repeat this process to the other teeth until we have at least 4 distance. Here, for didactic purposes, I am duplicating 6 measurements, which will give me a more accurate position of this line. And by reading 1, 1.2, 1, 2, 3, I'm sorry, 1, 2.6, 1, 2, 3 millimeters here, 1, 2, 2.5 millimeters here, 1, 2, 3.5 millimeters here on 13. So if I transfer those distances by designing little dots on the teeth of the model, if I connect those dots, I'm going to end up with one straight horizontal line on the same position of this image. Then I can duplicate this to this line. I can duplicate on the model with a fixed distance to an upper position, because here this line is going to be covered by wax. I can put this line a little bit upper here on the model, and I'm going to have the technician will have this reference of this horizontal line, which shows the exact and perfect alignment of this patient to the horizontal plane, to the earth. So this is the digital faceball combined with the digital ruler, giving us the ability to transfer those distances to the model. And this will conclude the DSD phase 1 of our training session.